Tony's looking to end Thanos' reign in a snap. Here's your look at the new Diamond Select. This is the Avengers Endgame Iron Man Mark 85. All the money in the universe can't bring peace of mind to this billionaire genius after the events of Avengers Infinity War. Tony Stark is hesitant to step into his lab again, but he might just have to if it means a shot of redemption as the invincible Iron Man. This select action figure of Iron Man Mark 85 is based on his appearance in Avengers Endgame, and it features 16 points of articulation and includes interchangeable hands. It was sculpted by Gentle Giant Studios. We're going to get this video started as where we always seem to get these videos started, and that's measuring off to the very top of whatever figure we're having a look at. In this case, it's the Iron Man Mark 85, and in this case, according to my trusty tape measure, the new Marvel Select Iron Man Mark 85 stands at 7.5 inches in height. And that in centimeters works out to be 19.2, so a little over 19 centimeters tall. The figure comes included with a diorama back display base, which essentially has a very bright white wall face, and then of course the flooring on top of that. The neat thing about it though is if you don't want to have your figure, let's just put Iron Man there for a second so I can show you what it looks like. If you don't want to have him displayed with such really a large display backdrop like this, maybe space is something that you don't have a whole lot of. Well, something you can also do with this as well, which I'm glad they allowed you to do this. If you look at the back of the wall, it's attached by pegs. If you detach it on one side and then detach it on the other side, you can take this wall off completely. And then all you have to do is just remove these pegs from the underside like so. One thing you will also notice, if you flip it upside down, that same similar peg system that I took off just on the back there is recreated on all the other sides as well, leading me to believe that they're probably going to be expanding this out to being an interconnected display base. In other words, something larger that you'll have all the figures attached to. So either in this case, you can go big or you can go small. In this case, I kind of like the idea of just going with a smaller flooring, but that will be maybe changed when we eventually get to larger display options. I also want to show you the back of the wall too. Those peg points, remember the ones that we had a look at that connect down at the bottom here? Well, there's also a series of other pegs along the top here. Again, making me believe that you probably will be available down the road additional figures that are all going to have continuations to this to give you a much larger scene. Next, we'll have a look at the figure's accessories, and he doesn't come with a lot. And the ones that he does come included with will likely lead itself down the road of an additional talking point. And I'm sure I'll remind myself of that when we get to that section. Immediately when you get it ripped open, the packaging that is, freeing Iron Man from his plastic prison, he comes with a pair of sported relaxed palms, sporting him in the sockets of his forearms, as you see right here. He does also come with a pair of closed fists, so if you fancy your Iron Man with sporting fists rather than relaxed hands, you can certainly pull off that as well, as Diamond Select include those too. The paint isn't perfect if you look at one repulsor blast on one hand versus one on the other hand, literally and figuratively. You see that the paint isn't quite consistent with one another. Being that these are light projecting out, I'm fine for the fact that the paint isn't perfect. Also for the fact that you're probably not going to be displaying Iron Man with his palms out anyways. This is, again, just additional paint that Diamond Select put into their pieces. So he does come with a pair of closed fists. Then he comes with this. This is, of course, Iron Man's makeshift gauntlet that, of course, will house the Infinity Stones, as you can see right there. He has two versions of these, and both of them will be sporting on this side of his forearm. The thing I noticed about this particular figure, if you look at the two side by side, the forearms aren't identical to one another, which would obviously warrant the idea then of swapping them out. Sadly, unfortunately, I had such a tough time of removing the forearm, But eventually I did manage to free it from its socket. Just in case you are wondering though, it does say R on the inside of the bicep. I don't see a section on the arm itself where it does have a matching R, but again, you know exactly which side it's going to go into by the fact, of course, that thumbsies go in. So we're going to pop that back into place. Like I said, the forearm is slightly modified. So I suppose in theory, if you were unable to get the forearm out, you could simply just pop the hands out, unless you have a friend that's a stickler for detail and will point out the flaw to you when he sees your collection of figures. I don't know if that's a friend you really need to be having visiting your house on a regular basis, but you can see that the forearm is also slightly smaller, slightly thinner than the defaulted one that you get out of the packaging. The hand itself obviously is drastically different as well. Let me just bend the elbow so you guys can see. There we go. You can see there that he does have the sported gems, the sported stones there in between the individual fingers or around the knuckled sections there as well. And Iron Man also comes with a variation as well. Now you would think, if they're going to go as far as to give you a hand like this, that they're also going to want to give you the snap hand. And in fact, yes, they do. We're going to go ahead and just pop this off, which of course will lead itself to one talking point. You probably already know exactly where this is going. Yes, Iron Man is sporting the snapped hand. Yes, it does look good, and it's nice to see Iron Man include such a thing. But the thing about it, though, is it would be nice if he had actually come with an unmasked portrait. My talking point, and the thing I wanted to add on top of this review, is the fact that maybe down the road, maybe not right now, maybe not a week from now, but I'm sure at some point there's going to likely be a Disney Store exclusive, I'm thinking, of this very same figure that's going to have the Tony Stark portrait. It certainly would lend itself better to the idea of him having the snapped hand, or the snapped finger, if he is going to be, of course, sporting the true Tony Stark portrait, which sadly, unfortunately, this figure doesn't have. Yes, you could display this particular figure with the snapped hand, or the snapped finger. It looks good, but again, I feel slightly disappointed for the fact that he doesn't come with a Tony Stark portrait. And again, you never know. Usually that is the time that the little knock on the door happens, and Disney Store is at the other side of the door presenting to you an exclusive that you can only get at their store, and it usually ends up being an unmasked portrait. They frequently do that with Ant-Man's, Spider-Man's, and I'm sure they're probably going to very well do it with this figure. So just be on the lookout. I'm sure there's probably going to be one that, if it isn't already existing, it's probably going to exist very soon. Paint on this guy is actually quite good. You can see the little metal sections of silver added to the tops of his hands. Again, all the individual stones are all presented here in their own unique colors. It's a nice looking hand. I'm just thrilled for the fact we do get it. A little disappointed though, again, that we don't get the unmasked portrait. Don't worry, I'll stop talking about that. Other than that though, what an exquisitely painted piece the Iron Man Mark 85 is. It's a combination of reds and golds and silvers. Silvers really serving as only just accent points, little areas and panel lines of silver, with the majority of the color being this red. I had to go back and watch key moments of the film again to kind of compare the color scheme. I feel like the colors of Iron Man are not quite the same here in figure as it does actually appear in the film. In the film, I feel like it's a slightly darker shade of red. Here it actually comes across a little bit more like an orange red, or as the color I've chosen to describe this as being. It's almost like more of a ketchup red. You can see it's got a slight tint of orange. Speaking of slight tint, hopefully the light's going to be pulling that properly. I don't know if you can see it, but there's almost a bit of a glittering effect added to the actual surface of the paint. I'm really pleased with the paint that they actually chose for this. The shiny nature of the red works quite well with the more slightly semi-glossed coloring of the gold that they used. The faceplate and helmet of Iron Man looks quite good also as well. Could it be a little bit shinier in the face? Possibly, yes. But then it might not match itself to the gold that they used on the arms. You've got, of course, the reactor, the arc reactor there in the middle. Some nice silver done on the sides. It's really neat the way that they've done this as well. When you turn it is really where you start seeing the breakup of detailing that would line itself normally up with the front grill of his abdomen But as you shift it, you can sort of see how they've outlined that in silver. It's really neat the way that they've managed to line those up. This guy feels a bit on the limited side when it comes to posability, but we'll talk about that in a second as well. Some continued silver making its way down. I was really a big fan of the 85. It sort of more was a throwback, if anything, to the original comic Iron Man suit, really where you had a lot of the gold on the sleeves of his armor, and it wasn't completely all red. Again, you got a continuation of that gold with a panel lining of silver, sort of breaking up what would be natural musculature on his legs. He's got that happening there on his suit as well. Some silver running down. He's got broad cuffed legs. Broad here, really around the ankle section. I had to see it again in the film, and I don't think it's as broad in it. They did this so that you could actually get some ankle articulation actually in this guy. We flip the boots up, and you can see that there's some paint done on the bottom sections as well as some peg holes. If you remember that far back, it wasn't that long ago, I showed you the flooring that the figure comes included with. That flooring didn't come with pegs, although the figure here does come with peg holes, which would support and work with universal peg stands that are available from other companies as well. So if you have another display stand readily available, you can most definitely use that with this particular figure. Paint again is sort of the same way with the fist hands. It's not very consistent, the blue and the white. But again, being that it's light projecting through, and for the fact you're not likely going to be displaying the figure like this anyways, I'm fine for the fact that the blue isn't consistent from one foot to the other, the same way as the fist wasn't the consistent as from one, of course, to the other. Let's have a look at this guy's articulation. His head rotates all the way around. One of the real problems, unfortunately, that come with the select versions of Iron Man is that it doesn't seem like the head's ever be able to tilt far enough back. I mean, if you tilt it far up, you really start feeling a lot of resistance happening on the back of the neck, and it's probably because the neck is so broad and the fact the peg for the ball joint isn't high enough that it gives you enough clearance to move the head further back. You can move the head down, sure, fine, and that's good, but you can't move the head that far up. That's as far up as it's really going to go. It's not even quite even leveled. It seems to always kind of sit slightly on an angle down. The head rotates all the way around though, nonetheless. You can see some nice detailing done to the neck itself. Very nice sculpted overall. He does have, of course, that abdomen ball joint, or upper torso ball joint, if you will, and that rotates, allows the figure to rotate all the way around. And of course, whatever from point A to point B you want to get this pose in, you can pull that off with the ball joint. Again, kind of resistant, unfortunately, with the hinge joints when you start getting to the arms. Because there's a whole lot of sculpting happening and here, there's a lot in the way preventing the arms from moving out. In other words, you can really only get it at roughly about a 45-degree angle. I can't seem to get them any further up than this. And even as I am moving it, the one thing I'm certainly worried about is I don't want the paint to start chipping off, of course, from one bit of plastic rubbing with the other. The arms still, however, allow you to move them all the way around. He does have a bend in the elbow, and you can rotate those forearms technically all the way around, although you've got this one little bit of section of elbow guard that sort of gets in the way of things. The hands also independently all the way around, and you can hinge them back and forth. That is whatever hand you decide you want to display the figure for, or figure in. When you get to the legs unfortunately get to about that same limitation. They move out to about there. You can move the legs forward, you can move them back, you can swivel at about a 3/4 cut of the thigh. He has a double hinge happening on the knee, and then he has foot articulation. An ankle rocker, yes, in fact he does have an ankle rocker in case people were interested in that, and you can move the feet also up and down. Not a bad looking figure at all. Personally speaking, when it comes to the Iron Man suits, or I guess really for that matter, a lot of the figures, I usually choose Select over Marvel Legends. Marvel Legends benefits from the fact that every known character seems to be released or will be released under the Marvel Legends banner. Marvel Select is a little bit more choosy with the pieces that they put out, but I'm perfectly fine picking up, I think, a Marvel Select Iron Man before I would pick up a Marvel Legends Iron Man. This one feels unique to itself. He feels hefty and has really good paint application. The Iron Man Mark 85 was a really neat looking suit in the film, and I think they've done a really good job of mimicking that here in plastic form. In the film, Thanos spoke of himself as being inevitable, and I sort of feel the same way about the Diamond Select release here of the Iron Man Mark 85. It's a nice looking figure, but I'm sure the inevitable future is in front of us, that we're going to be getting ourselves a battle damaged version of Mark 85, complete with the finger snap. The finger snap, of course, is sort of the clue for me to think that maybe down the road we are going to be getting ourselves, if not a battle damaged retail release, at the very least we're probably going to be getting ourselves a Disney Store exclusive battle damaged 85 that's going to have the Tony Stark portrait. It's a nice looking figure, although I feel odd displaying him with the snap finger, being for the fact that he is omitting the portrait of Tony Stark. Likelihood I'll probably just display him with the regular hand, with fingers crossed that the inevitable battle damaged 85 is, like I said, going to be in our immediate future. It's a nice looking figure. The paint is clean and polished on this piece. I don't think that the red is completely perfect to the one it appears in the film. I think in the film it's a little bit more of a different shade of red. Here it comes across more like an orangey red, but I'm still pretty happy with Diamond's release. The good thing about it is, if this one is something you want to add to your collection, the Iron Man Mark 85 is hitting comic book stores right now. So if you are looking to pick up the 85 for yourself, you should be able to find it now at your local comic book store. If, however, you can't find a local comic book store in your area, a shameful, shameless plug for the www.comicshoplocator.com. I assure you I don't get paid for it, but I have used it in the past to find the comic book store that I go to now on a regular basis. Go to www.comicshoplocator.com. Consider this more a service from me to you, so that if you guys can't find a store in your area, because I know a lot of times I'll get questions and comments from you guys, I don't have a comic book store in your area, in my area, meaning your area. Well, www.comicshoplocator.com, you probably would be surprised. There may very well be a store just down the street and you had no idea. If you managed to pick up this figure for yourself, let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think of the new Iron Man Mark 85. Nice looking figure, certainly to add to your hall of armors, sort of Tony's last armor, Lone Panda tier. If you guys are also new to this channel and haven't yet done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you don't do it before the snap occurs and everything gets changed. And also turn on that bell notification and keep your peepers peeled, because there's going to be a whole lot of videos coming your way. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.